Everyone talks about roommates from heck. What's your roommate from heaven story? My college roommate and I met on move-in day. I'm introverted, extremely organized, neat, and liked to study. After our parents left, we sat in silence for a bit until she asked if I wanted to walk my schedule with her. Turns out we were both really nervous for the first week because we didn't know where buildings or classrooms were. That first night we chatted a bit, then got in our respective beds at 8:30. We both read books for 20 minutes, then said goodnight to each other and turned the lights off. We ended up living together all 4 years, and this ritual of reading and saying goodnight to each other stuck. We were always the early to bed, early to rise pair and could study next to each other for hours without saying a peep. When we would go out on Fridays and Saturdays, we'd always go together and always had each other's back. If one wanted to leave, the other would leave, so neither of us had to walk back alone. She was just as clean and organized, so our room was always spotless and nothing was out of place. She loved to exercise and I loved to work in lab. We'd be sure to let each other know when we'd be in the gym lab so that the other could have alone time in the dorm. We still keep in contact to this day. Best roommate for me, hands down. Everything in this thread has been adorable, and this is no exception. We simply lived together in peace. When it was time to clean up, we did so. When one of us was feeling too lazy to do so, we postponed it. We both loved football. We respected the division of the tasks at home. We respected each other's personal spaces. We could trust each other. If one wanted to drink or smoke outside, the other would respect and keep it to himself. Also, he killed the cockroaches that I was afraid of, and I the rats that he feared. And that is it. There isn't need to any heroic act. We were really good friends and lived good years together. He rented a room in my house so that he could tell his parents that he had his own place and didn't live with his girlfriend. The only item he moved into the room was a sleeping bag, which he never actually used. For 6 months, the only time I saw my roommate was when he paid his rent. He literally never once stayed the night, showered, anything. I was waiting to hear that his parents showed up for a surprise visit and you had to pretend that your lived-in room was his and you actually lived in the one sleeping bag room. Was an international student who moved in with just kind of my clothes and laptop. Was sleeping on the couch until I could get a chance to shop for and buy a bed. One of my new roomies moved in the next day and discovered my plight. When he drove home to get the rest of his stuff, he came back with a bed for me. We still talk daily even though I live back home now. Great guy. Met the best friend I've ever had my freshman year in college. People warned us that when best friends live with each other, they end up hating each other. Roomed with him for 3 years. Performed as a freestyle rap duo, and we helped each other through some of the toughest parts of our lives. He died last year, is now a roommate from heaven. Hey, lost my best friend of 10 years May 2017. Let me know if you ever need to vent or talk, I feel it. It was my second year of law school and I got detained since I hadn't passed all my courses. I didn't tell my parents and I basically became a recluse, spiraling into depression. Not attending classes, sleeping way too much, not having my meals on time, etc. A few weeks later my mom drove down to campus to hang out and check up on me. Later that night I confessed to my mom. It was only a couple of years later that she told me she'd come down because my roommate had phoned her to tell her I wasn't feeling very well or eating properly. Whoa, that's some astute behavior. His girlfriend lived close by. He spent every night there. Showed up to shower and change clothes. Their parents would have freaked out if they actually were living together. They did get, and are still, married. Same. Plus he would pay half the grocery bill even if he didn't eat or drink all week. Evan, you rich goofy bastard. You kept up my drinking habit for 3 years. I have an army buddy who compulsively cleans. Right now he is cleaning my kitchen after breakfast. Honestly, he is just happy to do it. Leaves everything cleaner. You should give him some nice treat, I think he'll enjoy it. D. She was unemployed but not a passive person. She exercised and trained my cat for hours every day. After a few months, he knew so many tricks and seemed genuinely excited to do them. She organized all cabinets and threw away all the old junk that no one wanted. She kept the apartment super clean. She was always really happy and friendly, so I was always so excited to come home and talk to her. 10/10 everyone should live with Anne. She left because she was moving to her boyfriend's house in another city. Anne, you poetic and noble land mermaid. In my college we had assigned roommates and mine showed up once on the first day to make her bed and then pretty much never came back. Once or twice she would stop in to waste a few minutes between class, but that was it. She lived with her boyfriend while her parents paid for the dorm she didn't use. It was like winning the lottery and I loved having the place to myself. That's how it is with my friend. His roommate showed up and made the bed and we haven't seen him since. No idea where he went. I got sick in 2009, ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. When I came home, my roomie had eaten all my food, but had replaced literally everything. He also cleaned the entire house and rearranged my room to make it easier for me to get around while recovering. He was just out of the military, so the structure was his thing. I later found out he ate my food and replaced it so that I would have fresh food and none of it would go to waste. Heck of a guy. She worked early mornings and in medical school till evenings, stayed at her boyfriend's 60% of the time. When she was home she cleaned everything OCD style and she went food shopping all the time, like good organic food too. One time out of the 10-month experience she paid rent up front for 3 months for both of us, without me even knowing, and said in return, well, if you could just water my plants when I am at my boyfriend's and please eat the produce so it doesn't rot, we are good on the rent. Hello, yes mom. She soon graduated. She is now a neurosurgeon and married her same boyfriend and they had twins, a boy and a girl. She is in her 40s now and looks like she is 25. She is like one of those perfect people. Very nice too. I still get a Christmas card every year from her. I'd almost hate her if she weren't so dang wonderful. First semester I had the classic roommates from heck. Underage partiers. Didn't know how to clean up after themselves. Rude AF. Thieves. You know the drill. Which made my second roommate all the better. She was an Iranian PhD student and was very quiet. Like me. She was also the sweetest person ever. She'd randomly buy me chocolates, take care of the nastier cleaning more often than not, greet me with a hug when I got back from trips, and was generally super respectful and kind. She even told me my chainsaw snoring was sweet. Honestly, after a year or so my family was ready to adopt her, and we both cried when I had to move cities after 3 years. LOL my mom. I had a place in the city when my mom got a job downtown where she had to be on site a few days a week. We worked it out so she would commute up from the burbs and stay on my spare bed when she had to. She paid part of my rent, brought up Costco groceries, freaking godsend, and then took me out to dinner regularly. Sometimes I'd wake up to her making breakfast. Then, the absolute best part, she'd go home every weekend so I could come home drunk in peace. Mums are seriously the best. My mom always brings up Costco groceries too, so I know the feeling. I honestly don't remember the last time I bought my own toilet paper cause she always brings the giant size pack from there. In college, I lived with 3 other girls in student style housing. I knew 2 of the girls already, and the other one was randomly assigned to live with us. One night, I came home from work, and one of the girls I was already friends with was sitting on the couch and shouted, "Happy birthday." I was super confused because my birthday wasn't for another 9 months or so. I then saw that there were cupcakes in our kitchen. I asked her if those were really for my birthday, and she said that they were. When I asked her why she made me cupcakes when my birthday was 3 months ago, she said this: "The other day when we were talking about birthdays and you said that you hadn't had a cake in years, I thought that was the saddest thing. And you said that when you were a kid, yellow cake with chocolate frosting was your favorite. So that's the kind I made for you. And you should get to always have cake on your birthday." I had forgotten about this until this post, since it was well over 7 years ago. I don't talk to that girl anymore, but I hope she's doing well. That's so cute. My friends comment "damn be you ugly" on my Instagram selfies. Every time she knows I am going out drinking she puts a big glass of water in a place that was super obvious from our front door with a note that says "drink me." Also she's a killer cook and uses me to test out new recipes. I'm gonna do this to my roommates now but put vodka instead of water. I had the sweetest roommate my freshman year. I did a potluck selection. and got roomed with her. We shared a room and then shared a bathroom with the hall. She's an angel. If she was cleaning the room, she'd clean my side too. Was totally cool with me going to bed early, meaning the main light would be off and she'd use her lamp to study. She'd leave my lamp on if I was coming back to the room after she went to bed. During the first few weeks of school, she'd eat lunch with me so I'd feel less lonely. Overall, just so kind I could barely believe it. She was an engineering major and smart as heck. Got a 4.0 both semesters, which in turn inspired me to work harder in school. We never became best friends or anything, but she was beyond kind at a time when I hated college and didn't want to be there. She's since graduated, so did I, and is at a great engineering firm in a nice area. I ended up living with a friend of a friend that I didn't know very well when my college roommates broke our lease. I went from hardly knowing her to having a new best friend by the end of the semester. She was so easy to live with. Both kept our rooms messy but common areas clean, and she was just an overall low maintenance person to live with. Whenever I needed a night of distress we would binge watch Netflix shows together. She always offered me tea if she was making some for herself. We're both introverted and socially anxious, and it was very easy to just be myself around her. She introduced me to a lot of new people, including my boyfriend. We went to Disney World together for Thanksgiving break to visit a mutual friend. We spent way too many nights getting a little tipsy at our favorite local bar. She graduated in December, but I absolutely adore her and hope that our friendship will last the rest of our lives. Bob. So, lived in a house in college. My roommates got arrested for a drug-fueled party. Landlord evicted them. Had to prove to her I had nothing to do with it. I knew but was not involved. Got 2 new roommates. Both were going to the local community college, not the university. First one was a bit of a lush, but awesomely nice. He loved playing pool, but had no license due to a DUI. Would buy me dinner if I'd play DD. About twice a week. Then there was Bob. Big black Bob. Man was enormous. 6 feet 7 inches tall, and built like a tank. Just out of the military. Army I think. First day he moved in. He insisted he make dinner. It's the rules man. New guy makes dinner for the others. Finally have no choice but to agree. The dude doesn't just make dinner. He makes 3 T-bone steaks to perfection. Some grilled veggies, and a better than sex chocolate dessert. That's its name. Loved it obviously. He insisted it be a weekly thing. Can't ask him to do that and he says we'll split the cost then. But I'm cooking Thursday night became the best day of the week. Guy brought in a PlayStation, kept it in the main room instead of his bedroom, and insisted anyone was free to use it. As if this wasn't enough, he eventually got a job at a slaughterhouse. This gave him an employee deal on meat. We'd split the cost, but now it's even cheaper. He also started bringing home massive amounts of hamburger meat and making hamburgers for lunch with the regularity my mom made PB+J, except again he insisted on making 4 others. Feels dumb to make just 1 hamburger. This time flat out refuse payment. I found a way to not take total advantage by buying all the condiments and buns. I doubt many college students ate as well as I did, except those in culinary school or living at home. This dude was like that with everything. Happy to share, even demanding he share. You better goddamn believe, as the only one of us with a car, that I'll let Bob use it when he needed. I miss Bob, would love to get in touch with him now and thank him reconnect. But only other detail I know about him is he had an older brother named Mike who was much smaller, only 6 feet 2 inches, and skinny. Feels dumb to make just 1 hamburger. Words to live by. She helped me catch a mouse in a box and set it free down the road on the first night we met. She was French, so this was all through the international language of 2 19-year-old women panic pointing screams. It's beautiful how panic, pointing, screaming and loving all of the Shrek movies is universal. My college roommate would leave bottles of alcohol with cute notes for me when she would go home for breaks, knowing I would be alone and live too far to go home. Like drink me, but try not to throw up in me this time. He wasn't a great roommate, but his 2 cats were. One was very friendly and social and would have visits about once an hour and take a nap on my lap, play with a feather stick, cuddle, etc. Other one slept all the time and I would see her just 2 times a day or so. But she was one of those cats that really gets into scritches and having her belly rubbed. I could go on for like an hour if I wanted to. I roomed with 2 Polynesian dudes who cooked ungodly amounts of food every night. I'd come home from work and they'd have a shitload of rice, chicken, beef, and pork, all seasoned to perfection sitting out. Hey, brother, go make a plate. Let's play some 2K. I gained 10 pounds my first month. Some cultures just know how to live. First time I got super drunk, passed out and puked all over the sofa our apartment. He took care of everything, cleaned everything and took care of me the next day. He brought me water constantly and brought me food to the bed. Never mentioned it once and never tried to pull a favor using that leverage. I work first shift. My roommate works second shift. I go to bed around 10-11 PM. He stays up until 4 AM, but he's quiet. The bills get paid. The apartment is always clean. We both always go out as opposed to have people over. Every weekend or so he gets drunk. I get stoned. And video games are played. Whoa, that sounds amazing. Lived in a dorm. Flats were 5 bedrooms and a kitchen and bath, with a bunch of international students. One was French. Her and her French friends would have crepe parties in our kitchen and everyone was invited. They brought Nutella. I brought maple syrup. It was an international delight. Freshman year roommate. He was southern, white, and conservative, and I'm northern, brown, and liberal. We couldn't have gotten along better. We had maybe 3 arguments in the 9 months we lived together, all of which we'd forgotten after about a half hour. We respected each other's sleep schedules, always had each other's backs, etc. That's a sitcom situation, if ever I did hear one. That's really cool, though. Had a random roommate who I just got along perfectly with. We went out to dinner together, had tons of inside jokes, and could talk about anything. We went from total strangers to best friends in just a couple months. My husband. We called each other husband and wife because we jokingly acted as the parents of the roommates. She is still an amazing friend of mine. Got me into doing artist alley with her at conventions. We would make food together and she always paid rent on time, and most importantly we were always able to comfortably talk and hang out despite both of us being not so social our respective senior years of college. LOL. We would have date night after class where we would get dollar tacos and drink and share desserts. I miss living with her. She is a great friend. Her friend. If you consider all that as just friendship, then I've been married to just a friend for 22 years. He drove me to the nearest clinic in the middle of the night. Did not ask for any payments and waited in the car during my checkup. The clinic was pretty far from our dormitory grounds. I lived with a very close friend of mine in my last year of university. We had both had really terrible living situations before moving and just the 2 of us, so we were a little wary of living with another person, even though we knew each other pretty well before. That would be my hex story. One roommate refused to buy toilet paper when it was his turn, so would time all his showers to be right after he pooped. Anyway, we found a basement of a house with 2 rooms and moved in. Our landlords lived upstairs and were phenomenal people. They would have us over for Sunday suppers and we paid dirt cheap rent that included everything including internet. After the first couple months, the internet usage went up and so they increased it and joked that uni kids use way more internet in a month than they ever could in a year. Didn't charge us extra for it at all. I used them both as character references for jobs and future apartments. My actual roommate is my platonic soulmate. We had the same schedule. She kept me motivated to study. I'm a procrastinator, and I helped her manage her anxiety and stress. Everyone did all their dishes and didn't leave laundry in the machines. And cleaning the apartment was just both of us starting at the same time and cleaning until it was done. No, but you did less than me nonsense. We made each other tea and snacks and finished every night of studying cuddled up on one of our beds to watch one episode of TV to chill before sleep. Her boyfriend, now husband, would come visit on occasional weekends, lived in a different city and would take us both out for dinner and pay for everything, even though I tried to insist that they didn't need a third wheel. My boyfriend, now husband, would spend some weekends and would drive us to the grocery store and wherever else so we didn't have to take the bus. We're all very close as 2 couples now. It was pure heaven. When I went to college, my first roommate was the laziest mother I ever met in my life. His alarm would go off right next to his head for a long time and he wouldn't even roll over and shut it off. This sucker was so lazy he wouldn't even finish his sentences. Swear to God. He'd be like, man, I was walking to class and never mind. I was like, what dude? Say it, it's just us here. What happened? And he would just say nah and go get in bed and take another nap. This wasn't the heaven roommate. I am just painting a juxtaposition here. His lazy butt was always there, 100% of the time. He was kicked out for C at the semester, so they sent me another roommate. This weird butt dude named Lucas. The thing about Lucas is he was never there, ever. I legit saw only a few minutes a day. He never even set up a bed, just a mattress on the floor the whole semester. He had no furniture, no stuff, nothing. He moved in with books and a long skinny mirror. Like 6 foot by 20-inch mirror he hung on the wall. Here's the thing. He never slept in the bed. Oh, and he wore a cape. Like everything about him was normal. Nikes, jeans, collared shirt, hat, but then he always had this long black cape on. Weird as frick. He would come into the dorm in the morning, stand in front of that long butt mirror for a few minutes, then he would slap himself in the face a few times and grab his books and leave. I wanted to ask him what he was doing all the time, but I was good with it. When you're 18 and masturbating as many times a day as I was, having a roommate for only 10 minutes a day is the best thing you could ask for. Obviously he was a vampire. The cape, the only being around a little bit a day, the slapping himself in front of a mirror so he could tell that he was still there, preferring the hard floor to a bed. It all adds up. Before he moved in, he showed up randomly one day and our sink was clear of dishes. We'd just come home from something. He's not here now, but I still like to joke about how he broke in and cleaned up. I had just come out of a roommate from heck situation and was traumatized. Moved in with a friend. One of our first weekends I drink too much and am sick the whole next day. I start crying and apologizing from the bathroom floor because I couldn't do the dishes that day and I was so used to butthole roommate passive aggressively sniping at me and telling her friends she wanted to murder me while I slept if I left anything in the sink. Awesome roommate understandably was like, WTF. Don't apologize. You're sick. And brought me water and was generally awesome. It was an amazing year. We brought a Christmas tree back to the apartment on a bus and played humans vs zombies on campus and went trick-or-treating and cooked each other meals. She's still one of my best friends. I have no contact with butthole roommate. I hope her boyfriend in the military found out she cheated on him. My roommate was a software developer obsessed with cooking and he would freaking make me brunch every Sunday for free. I should have married that sucker for the convenience even if I am not into dudes. And his health insurance plan was to die for. My current roommate is the best. He works late, sleeps late, doesn't need a ton of social interaction, pays his rent and when we do hang out, is super chill. Sometimes we see each other every day. Sometimes I won't see him for weeks. He also shares our love of cats and we watch each other's little ones when we're traveling. 3 you Mike. I've got to deal with my roommates. We all share our food supplies. I cook. They clean the dishes afterwards. As a guy without a lot of money, but a love of cooking and hatred of dishes, I couldn't ask for a better setup. I've had several great roommates through the years. 2 of the top 3 are still some of my best friends. But I think my favorite roommate has to be one of my first in college. Dude is definitely the most extroverted person I have ever met. He just had this infectious energy and love for people that helped develop me into the kind of guy who is not afraid to just go up and talk to people. He wasn't the cleanest, most organized person, but he always had something cool going on in his life that made living with him interesting and unique. Managing his own small business, cooking new meals, working on various art projects, etc. We both had an instant bro bond with our mutual love of metal. Got to go to my first show with him, and several others in subsequent years, where I found out that being together in mosh pits, circle pits, walls of death are one of those things that really strengthens a friendship bond. Anytime we hang out now, we have fun doing harsh metal vocals. We also have this thing where we try to one-up each other by sending positive texts, but in increasingly the most brutal, messed ways our minds can come up with. Just entire conversations of stuff like, I hope your day is so metal that, followed by stuff you'd find in the lyrics of death metal songs. In college we would stay up late playing multiplayer on Call of Duty, Black Ops, and seriously had awesome times playing Domination. It led to quite the amount of inside jokes between us. Finally, even though we have different views on things, I'm Christian, he's agnostic, we have great discussions about stuff like challenges in life, relationships, personal goals, career paths, etc. that we offer our own insights and opinions about. We agree on political social issues, and are die-hard fans on the Green Bay Packers, so all in all, he is a great buddy and I'm glad to have had him as one of my first roommates. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.